as you know, this is the beginning of a cycle of Dharma teachings. His Holiness will arrive tomorrow, and with Muksan Rinpoche and Karma Kuchin Rinpoche. Think about that. So I feel like, for me, it feels like Christmas is tomorrow, basically. It feels wonderful. So we should realize that what is coming now is the opportunity to be in the presence of living Buddhas. These lamas of our lineage are living Buddhas. How it is that we can be so fortunate to have His Holiness Karma Kuchin Rinpoche coming and Muksan Rinpoche coming. I mean, what? I woke up this morning and the first thing I thought was, what have I done to deserve this? What possibly could any of us have done to deserve this? My idea of a good time is to get these three guys to stand around in a circle and me right in the middle. Just cook me. So that's what I was thinking. Since my birthday's coming up, I'm going to ask. So we have this wonderful, auspicious opportunity, and the truth of the matter is that we are about to taste the very nectar of our noble lineage. These lamas are peerless. Of course, His Holiness is our throne holder, and Karma Kuchin Rinpoche is destined to be our next throne holder. Muksan Rinpoche is the mind emanation of Terten Migyur Dorje. I mean, this is the very nectar, the very elixir of bliss that is about to land on our doorstep. How fortunate we are. And we have to ask ourselves, what we can do to make this opportunity as beneficial as possible. Because I know we're a little rusty. I've been seeing a little rust, and I've been hearing creaks, just these little creaks, little Dharma creaks coming out of you guys. So tonight we're getting the oil can ready, and we're going to spritz a little to get ready for their visit. First of all, you have to understand the benefit of actually relating to and sitting in the presence of these Nirmanakaya Buddhas. These are the Rupakaya, the form body of everything that is our hope, our prayer, all that we strive for, all that we attain toward. These lamas have in full blossom. We hope we can engage a little bodhicitta maybe by next year sometime. We hope we can get a little meditation going. We hope we can practice a little. We hope we can practice our path somewhat competently. But these guys, they have done this for so long, since time out of mind, really. They have been on the path in order for them to attain the full fruition that they have attained. They have to have been on the path for uncountable aeons. Inconceivable how it is that they will come to us. Now, when the Rupakaya appears and your Lama sits right in front of you, when you know that you're sitting in the form, you're sitting in front of the form of a Nirmanakaya Buddha. When you realize that, you have to ask yourself, what do I do? What do I think? How can I understand what this is? In order to do so, you should go back to Guru Rinpoche's teachings, one of his famous teachings. It's become famous, I think, because I say it all the time. I don't know how famous it is actually. It's maybe one of the smaller teachings. But he promised us, and I take this to heart. He said, I will appear as your root guru, so that we know when these Nirmanakaya Buddhas come to us to give us empowerment, to give us blessing, that we are truly blessed, that this unbroken line of teacher-student, teacher-student, teacher-student goes directly back to Guru Rinpoche's appearance in the world and his journey to Tibet to bring Buddhism, to bring the Dharma to Tibet. There in that incarnation, along with his companion, one of his two main consorts, Yeshe Tsogyal, he actually manifested these Dharma treasures and hid them. He hid them in many places. As you know, he hid them in rocks, he hid them in water, he hid them in the air, so that at the properly appointed time, they would manifest accordingly. But also he hid these treasures in the minds of his students, his heart sons, his closest students. And then later they incarnated as Tertons, one of which, of course, is Terton Migyur Dorje. Now, his emanations are coming here in Rupakaya form, in the flesh. We will actually be able to touch these guys, but don't. So it's just such a fortunate opportunity. The very bearer of that treasure comes to us now. And the head of that lineage that holds that treasure, he comes to us now. We have seen with our very eyes none other than Kunzang Sherab when he has come to be with us. He's a starter of this lineage. So we have been so fortunate. When they come to us like that, we can think for ourselves that this is not an ordinary appearance. This is not just something. This is not in the same category as the other things that manifest in our lives. This is not TV. This is not a movie. It's not going to the grocery store. It's not any of those ordinary things that we do every day. This is different. When we look at the appearance of the form body of the Buddhas, we know that this did not arise in samsara. Sure, their bodies, they were born of women. And so they took part in that natural wheel and cycle of death and rebirth. But not because they needed to return, only that they returned for us. They have come to instruct us and to teach us. And they have each attained enlightenment, and that enlightenment cannot be bought. It cannot be cajoled. It cannot be begged. It cannot be granted. I'm sorry to tell you that there is not going to be some sort of coming in which that will be granted. This enlightenment arises not from samsara, and you cannot create samsaric causes to give rise to that, to this miracle. Instead, you must trust and you must understand that this appearance, although seeming to be an ordinary body, is none other than Guru Rinpoche himself. We should think like that, because he promised us. He said, I will appear as your root teacher. And so we should think this is none other than Guru Rinpoche himself. And we know that from our practice of Guru Yoga, that this is the very face of enlightenment. The very taste, the very essence, the very nectar of enlightenment. And so since these lamas that come to us to give us their blessing do not arise from samsara, is it appropriate then for us to juggle things around like what we're going through right now and our emotions and, you know, our things that we are just our stuff, you know? Should we simply arrange that to make room? That's a little weak, if you think about it. That's not much of an offering. Because when these lamas come, we must understand that they mean to cut like a knife. Why? Why will they do that? They're compassionate, aren't they? Well, absolutely. But here's the deal. The deal is that we are tumbling, lost, banging our heads against the walls of samsara, endlessly repeating crazy patterns and crazy thoughts and crazy issues again and again and again because we don't know any better. So you can expect that when these lamas come, they have to cut through something. They're not meant to leave your life unchanged. It's the funniest thing. When our teachers come, we defend ourselves. You know? We think, I'm only going to change this much. And thank goodness I only won't be able to watch TV or whatever, do what we do, for those 4 or 5 days. So that won't be too bad. But it's true. Whether we admit that to ourselves, those thoughts are rumbling around in there. Can I take all this time out? Well, let me tell you. They come to you because in order to truly attain realization, in order to truly abandon samsara and move toward liberation, you must change utterly. Not just emotionally. People are waiting for an emotional reaction. That's just samsara. You can juggle your emotions and move them around anytime. You don't even need a lama for that. And you know it. Because what have you been doing for the past couple of years? We've been juggling our emotions. And so they are meant to cut, when they come, our entire habituation patterns. And so these things that we call these patterns and characteristics and qualities, or if you can call them that we call our personality, and we rigidly cling to because we think that's it, that's us. That's who we are, and we're darn cool at it. We cling to that so hard that sometimes often it takes utter disruption. It sometimes takes that. And many times the guru will come to us in our lives and we can't even recognize it. I mean, well, major surgery or some sort of problem that greatly interrupts your life and turns your head around and says, whoa, what's this all about? Sometimes that happens, but of course, being samsaric, we can hardly recognize it. It's very difficult. We think, oh, this thing just happened to me. We are fortunate, though. There is no mistaking. When these lamas come through the door, you will know. And so our response has to be a certain kind of willingness. Rather than to think, how little can I change in order to get through, we should be thinking, how can I surrender utterly? A lot of times when we are in the same room with our teacher, we try to close our minds because we don't want the teacher to see. We don't want anybody to see. It's a big secret what's in there. Because it's so unique. So we think, oh, I just have to sit nicely and hide. What a useless thing to do. It's completely useless. Instead, we should think we have this opportunity to cut through samsara. And so in a way, you're kind of like, here, do it. That kind of surrender, because there aren't many chances like this. How many times do you think we'll have this chance again? You have to wonder. And it's not like none of us are ready for a change. And it's not like we don't need a change. And it's not like we're not sick and tired of clinging to samsara. Because samsara has abused us, has mistreated us, has abandoned us, has picked us back up again and slapped us around. Samsara is not our friend. And so when these lamas come, we think, open me up, do it. Ripen my mind. And that's the purpose of their coming. And here's where I want to caution you. I'm making this gesture of, ripping the shirt and, open my heart. But really, that's not it, is it? That's an emotional thing. That's emotional. You can do that and still not open anything. More than that, we should understand that these lamas, they're not here to make us feel good necessarily, at least not in the short haul. I mean, the gift that they would like to give us is a long haul gift. You understand? It's like you may have to put up with sitting in an uncomfortable position for a few hours, but the payback is sweet. You have empowerment. You receive the blessings of this lineage in a banquet. You receive the very essence, the very fruits of the gifts that Terten Migyur Dorje gave the world. Think about it. Think how many minds his blessing has ripened. Unbelievable. And that we get to take a bit of that. But we're so used to eating shit that we don't know how to taste happiness, how to taste what is pure. It's hard for us, being steeped in samsara, to know what is to be abandoned and what is to be taken up. So I would like to explain a little bit about why these lamas give empowerment and why empowerment is so necessary. Empowerment is not simply a ceremony. It isn't like a little ditty that we do and we get crowned with something and then we're official, or something like that. Empowerment is not an emotional experience, although it may affect you emotionally. Empowerment is the Lama ripening the mind, maturing the mind of the disciple. That's what it is. So that trying to practice without empowerment will probably yield a very, very stunted and unfortunate fruit. There simply isn't the capacity. Because remember, as I'm telling you, originally it was Guru Rinpoche with his consort Yeshe Tsogyal that planted these great treasures of wisdom spontaneously coming from his own Buddha awareness, and planted them in the minds of these tertons and revealed at what time and where and when these tertons would reveal their treasures, and they have. And it was at the right time, and it always has been. So you know that the transmission of these blessings, the essence of these empowerments, they came originally from the enlightened awareness and stainless compassion of none other than Guru Rinpoche himself. In his joyous dance with the Dakinis, he revealed one treasure after the other. And they are hidden everywhere. And the main treasure revealers have revealed and are revealing, have revealed their treasures exactly when they were supposed to, and under the proper conditions. And that's what you receive. You receive that spontaneous blessing from Guru Rinpoche's mind, which comes from the purely enlightened state, hidden until the appropriate time, revealed, and then conferred teacher to disciple, teacher to disciple, teacher to disciple, in an unbroken lineage until you receive. The empowerment is that very nectar. We think, oh, the empowerment is just, we don't understand because we see a ceremony, we see an event. It seems to be happening outside of us. We may feel something, but we don't really see or view any exchange of energy. We don't understand that nectar comes to us. But we should try to understand that, because the truth of the matter is that this ripening of the mind that occurs when the outer, inner, and secret levels of empowerment are given, while we may not yet understand because we haven't practiced enough, they are the jewels in seed form that ripen and mature the mind in order to achieve enlightenment. So that after you receive empowerment like that, you should understand that you hold a treasure. You will never be the same. You will never be the same. Because before this, you might have been like everyone else. But once you receive that empowerment, that seed resides within the mind. Resides within one's mind, within the mind stream, until such time as we practice and that seed begins to grow and eventually bears fruit. To hold such treasures, how inconceivable. And then what do we do with them? A lot of times we are not our own best friend, because we don't do what should be done with something so precious. Like the jewels they are, these empowerments should be kept tenderly within the heart and mind, moistened by the breath of our own practice, sweetened by our pure intention, brought to life by our compassion for the suffering of all sentient beings. This is our job, to understand that we are changed utterly and that we can never be the same. We may be habituated into going back to the same emotional patterns, but really, even if we don't understand the value of this blessing, it's still our blessing. We still have this. We still have the right and the responsibility to grow that seed into the enlightenment that we all long for, into the liberation that we all cry out for. So when we receive these empowerments, we should hold them carefully and look forward, immediately look forward and take the time that you need to develop that seed. A lot of times when we first come to Dharma, we receive empowerment and we think, well, now I've received empowerment, great. And we're not attuned, we're not finely tuned to where we can recognize that we have received something. Still, we have the gross defilements that come along with samsara. So when we receive these blessings, we may not know at first, but even still, the blessing is so potent that months later or a year later or something like that, we can still take up that practice and practice intensely, and the benefit will be there. There's nothing in samsara like that. Everything in samsara gets moldy or goes bad or gets stale or goes away, or just disappears, dies, whatever. But that primordial wisdom nature that we hope to awaken within our minds, that primordial wisdom seed that we carry, that cannot be tarnished. Its essence is undefiled and stainless. And so we are challenged then to think about that a little bit and understand that this in some way makes us like precious vehicles. Not precious in a stupid way, like, hey, I'm precious, you know, don't I look precious today? Not like that. But to understand that this vessel holds the stainless blessing of none other than Guru Rinpoche himself. Like precious nectar, you should drink. You should satisfy your thirst. Why do we keep ourselves in darkness? Now's the time. They're coming, and they're coming at just the right time. I can't tell you what's in the works, but I can tell you they always know when it's the right time. And whatever happens, whatever these lamas do, trust. His Holiness says, you know, His Holiness was just in our temple in Maryland. So his visit was there. And he told the Sangha there that our temple is like a great jewel, peerless, that there's none other like it. That we have the largest ordained community led by a laywoman, which is kind of interesting. And we have, he thinks, our students have excellent qualities, growing qualities, becoming qualities. And he says, most of all, beyond that, he said, we Tibetans, we have a traditional way of making our temples look and making them appear, and we have a traditional way of talking and approaching. And he said, you have something that we cannot provide, and that is Jetsunma. And I'm not saying that to brag about myself, but it's because we're American. You know, that wasn't a great feat that I accomplished, being American. You know. It just sort of popped out that way. But he said that is such a great jewel, because while we have the absolute, the true basis of Dharma, we can explain Dharma and talk about Dharma in Western ways, and we can come more comfortable with it. And he said, to hear and to understand that the Dharma is being taught in such a pristine way, with such understanding, yet in a very Americanese kind of language. He said, that's it. That's what we want. He said, this doesn't happen anywhere else. So this is something to be very happy about and very amazed about. I'm amazed about it because when I was first recognized, I thought, oh, rats, I'm an American. This is really, this is, well, rats. What can you say besides rats? Because I thought I wasn't born in a monastery. I wasn't trained since a child. I started training really at 38. And I won't tell you how long it's been. So that was quite a thing. But there's always been a natural understanding of Dharma. So I thought to myself, my goodness, how strange to be an American. Here I am. I will never have the teachings that the lamas have, who have been trained since they were children. I'll always be playing catch up. But that's Guru Rinpoche's blessing, and that's how it appeared. And it's just right. You are just right. And I'm so proud of you. Now I want you, when His Holiness comes, you'll forgive me. I want you to eat your dinner. Make yourself strong, your Dharma dinner. Yummy, yummy, every mouthful. Roll it around, taste it. Let yourself be ripened. Allow His Holiness to do what only He can do. And relish being in the same place as these beautiful emanations of Tirtan Migyur Dorje. I will. I will allow them to strengthen me, because that's why they're coming. And you should too. I beg you to take this opportunity and to utilize it to its depth. I beg you to be willing to let your life be changed utterly. To let your mind and heart be uprooted. Be brave, little soldiers. I know you can do it. Because I'll tell you, and this is the truth, there is nothing for you from this lineage than love, other than love. That's all. In this noble family, there is nothing but stainless compassion. No one has broken it. Our lamas are peerless, and they love you, and they are here for you. Nourish yourselves, I pray you will, at their feet. Eat and drink and be merry, in the Dharma sense, of course, because help is on the way. So, I think that's all I wanted to say. I wanted you guys to realize what empowerment is about, that it's not just silly ritual stuff. Wanted you to understand that this beautiful nugget is coming right to you. And I'm asking you to please receive and benefit. And that's it. So we'll say our closing prayers.
Yahweh unto Zomba. Ashu